Happy 700th episode to Plain English. Don't forget, we're celebrating episode number 700 by throwing the doors open to the full Plain English Plus experience, totally free to all Plain English listeners this week, August 12th to 18th, 2024. You do need an account at Plain English, so if you don't have one yet, sign up now. It's free. If you have an account already, just log in and you'll see everything we have to offer. Now, here's today's episode. What is train travel like in the United States? Hi there, everyone. It's Jeff, and this is Plain English, where we use stories to help you expand your vocabulary and start thinking in English. In each episode, we tell a story, and I show you how to use an English expression. The story today is about train travel in the United States. If you've been to Europe, or if you live in Europe, you might have taken the trains all around. But if you go to the US, well, it's not that way. We do have some long-distance trains, and today you'll learn about them. In the second half of today's episode, you'll learn the expression up and running. This is lesson number 701 of Plain English, so that means JR, the producer, has uploaded the full lesson resources to plainenglish.com/701. Before we dive into the story, just another quick reminder that we've opened up the full Plain English Plus experience to all listeners. Totally free this week only, August 12th to 18th. If you haven't been on the website, make a point to do that and explore all the great premium resources. It's free this week and this week only. Check it out at plainenglish.com. Trains are a great way to get around Europe. The high-speed trains whisk you from city center to city center, within countries and across borders. The slower trains take you to small towns and villages. You can visit a vineyard, go for a hike, hit the beach, and ski a mountain, all by taking Europe's vast network of passenger trains. It's not like that in the United States. The US does have a national train network called Amtrak. Amtrak is a strange hybrid between a government agency and a private company. In theory, it's a private, for-profit corporation. However, it receives a subsidy from the federal government, and its board of directors is appointed by the president. In practice, it's more public than private. Amtrak trains run from coast to coast. There are over 500 stations in 46 states. Almost all of its routes lose money. About half of Amtrak's ticket revenue comes on the direction, and train travel from city to city is not competitive with flying. The distances are too great, the trains don't go fast enough, and wherever you go, you probably need a car when you arrive anyway. Amtrak trains are not very reliable. It's common for trains to be delayed for 1, 2, even 3 hours or more. For short distances, car travel is more competitive. For long distances, plane travel is best. Unless you're going between the big cities of the Northeast, trains just can't compete with car or plane travel. Amtrak, though, can be a good way to see the country if you have time to spare. The West Coast route that connects Los Angeles to Seattle is considered one of the best train routes in the country. The 30-hour route passes through snow-covered mountains, forests, and desert. And for long stretches, you can see the Pacific Ocean. Observation cars have large windows and seats arranged for you to enjoy the scenery. You can cross the country in a train if you're brave. The trip from New York to Los Angeles is scheduled for 66 hours. That's almost 3 entire days on the train. You can reserve a seat, which partially reclines. You can also reserve a small room, which includes a pull-out bed and a shower. If that's what you want, be prepared to pay up. A small room on the New York to LA route can cost $1,500 or more. For a long time, advocates for train travel encouraged the government to put its money into the nationwide network. But realistically, passengers aren't going to take long-distance trains that take 12, 24, or 66 hours to reach their destinations. Much of Amtrak's investment recently has gone into the Northeast Corridor and into pairs of cities that are somewhat close to each other. This is also the strategy that America's only private train company uses. The last time a private company provided train travel between two cities was many, many decades ago. But now a private company called Brightline is trying its hand at running high-speed intercity trains. Brightline is focusing its efforts on pairs of cities where train travel can be faster than driving and cheaper than flying. So far, it's working on 2 routes. The first is already up and running. It connects Orlando, in the middle of Florida, with Miami and Fort Lauderdale in the south. These are the state's 2 biggest tourist hubs. Orlando is a popular tourist destination with Disney, Universal Studios, and other parks. It's also one of the biggest markets for meetings and conventions. Miami has beaches, restaurants, clubs, and entertainment. People who visit one destination may also want to add a few days in the other. The train saves about 30 minutes over the equivalent drive. There are first-class tickets too, so riders can go in style or stay productive and work. Brightline's other route is Las Vegas to Los Angeles. This one is under construction, and trains are expected to be up and running in 2028. Las Vegas, as you know, is a major tourist destination. It's also a common weekend escape for people who live in Los Angeles. In a car, without traffic, it's about a 4-hour drive from LA to Las Vegas. Brightline is betting that passengers will want to take a train for their Vegas weekend escapes. This makes sense because most visitors to Las Vegas don't need a car. Once you're on the Las Vegas Strip, everything is accessible on foot or with a short cab ride. Apart from the intercity trains, several cities have subway or light rail trains, and a number of regions have at least one commuter train that connects the downtown area to the more residential suburbs. But if you want to visit the US and tour the country, your train travel options are limited, I'm afraid. I found a good video of a journalist who did the coast-to-coast trip on Amtrak. He documented the whole trip, including the little room. 72 hours it took him. To see that video, go to plainenglish.com/701, click on today's story about train travel, and then find the tab called Dig Deeper. Up and running. Up and running is an expression we use when a process has started. Something is up and running when it has started and when it is operating. We use this with systems, machines, and processes. And we say something is up and running if it started recently, or, as you'll see, if it was paused for some reason. Let's start by using up and running with a system. They're building a lot of wind farms these days. These are collections of large windmills. The South Fork Wind Farm is a wind farm off the coast of Long Island near New York City. Construction began in about 2019. It took a long time. And in March 2024, the system was connected to the electricity grid and it started generating power. When that happened, the wind farm was up and running. Why do we use up and running in this case? A wind farm is a big system. It's either working, generating electricity, or it's not. When it started working, when it was connected to the electricity grid, the system became operational. Now, just recently, right before, it was not operational. So on the day it became operational, people said it was finally up and running. Now let's use up and running with a process. Election Day in the United States is the first Tuesday in November. Or is it? In most states, voters have the option to vote early, in person, or by mail. In every state in the Western United States, early voting has been up and running since at least 2004. This is a process that's working. It's going. It's operating. It hasn't always been working like this, but it is now. That's why we say it has been up and running in those Western states since 2004. Early voting isn't a physical machine or a system like a wind farm, but it's an ongoing process, and we can use up and running when we want to say this process has started. A long time ago, American voters had to vote in person on Election Day unless they had a valid excuse. But gradually, the states introduced new, more flexible voting procedures. Every state does it differently, but full early voting is up and running in about 37 out of the 50 states. We use up and running because this is a process that is now operational. Here's how you can use up and running about something that is planned for the future. A company called Brightline is building a train to connect Las Vegas with the Los Angeles area. The train isn't operating right now. They're still building the tracks and the infrastructure, but they hope that the train will be up and running in 2028. They hope, they predict that it will be open, that trains will be running on that line, serving passengers in 2028. They hope it will be up and running by then. All the examples I've given so far are about a system or a process that starts its operations. The wind farm is brand new. Now it's up and running. They hope a new train to Las Vegas will be up and running in 2028 because there's no train now. So up and running often describes when a system first begins operations. But there's a variation on this expression called back up and running. And we use this when a system has been restored after an unexpected pause. The online system that many American car dealers use to process car sales, the system went down after a hack. The system was fine. It's been around for a long time. But then it was hacked and the system went down. Thousands of car dealers had to switch to paper and pencil for a few days. But then the system was restored. They fixed the hack and the system was turned on again. It was available again. And when that happened, they said the system is back up and running. Back up and running means it's operational again after a pause. Imagine that a factory is operating, producing cars, let's say, and then imagine the workers go on strike. The factory's production shuts down temporarily. It stops. After the strike is resolved and the workers go back to work, you can say the factory is back up and running. And that's all for us here at Plain English. This was episode number 701. Remember to get the full story at plainenglish.com/701. And you can also practice using up and running in the practice area of the transcript. You write your own sentence and I'll give you feedback so you know you're doing it right. We'll be back on Monday with a new story. See you then. Can you believe we've been together for 700 episodes? I can hardly believe it myself. JR and I wanted to do something special to celebrate this amazing milestone. So we're opening the doors of our premium membership, Plain English Plus, to every Plain English listener. The Plus membership has a lot to offer beyond just the podcast. We've got translations built right into our transcripts, so you never have to be confused when you hear a hard word. There's the fast version of the audio, which you can get on a podcast app. We've got fun, interactive exercises that go along with every story, and step-by-step video workshops help you express complex ideas. These are part of our paid programs, but they're all free this week, August 12th to 18th, 2024. So take a moment to log into plainenglish.com. If you don't have an account, that's okay. You can create one for free. And once you're in, you can explore everything we have to offer inside the Plus membership, and you can learn a lot in just this week. Go ahead and do that now, plainenglish.com.